While the NFL world strutted across the ESPYs red carpet in Hollywood, under golden lights, designer suits, and flashing cameras, one rookie quarterback was thousands of miles away, walking through the ashes of a burned-out Cleveland neighborhood. Shedeur Sanders didn't show up for applause, didn't chase clout, and didn't squeeze into some overpriced tuxedo for a few seconds of airtime. Instead, he chose to skip the glitz and glamour of the sports world's biggest award night to do something most professional athletes would never even think about doing. He spent the day with families who had just lost everything. Weeks earlier, an explosion ripped through the Rainbow Terrace apartments in Cleveland, leaving more than 100 residents displaced, forcing dozens of families onto the streets, and putting a father and his 2 children in critical condition. The father lay in a coma with burns over 90% of his body. His kids clung to life, their futures uncertain. The tragedy wiped out homes, memories, and stability in seconds. Yet outside of local coverage, almost no one paid attention. There was no ESPN coverage, no league-wide moment of silence, no multi-million-dollar NFL fundraiser. The story faded from headlines, just another blip in a never-ending cycle of bad news. But for Shedeur Sanders, it wasn't just another story. He felt called to show up. He didn't care that others warned him to stay away, that some told him it wasn't his responsibility. His answer was simple: God told me to come. For a 22-year-old rookie quarterback drafted in the 5th round, still fighting for his spot at training camp, that decision wasn't about publicity or photo ops. It was conviction. He showed up not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because he believed that leaders don't wait for permission to show up where they're needed most. The scene he walked into was raw. Garden Valley, a neighborhood long ignored and often stigmatized, had been rocked to its core. Families stood outside in disbelief, grieving and unsure what came next. The explosion wasn't just a physical disaster. It was a reminder of how fragile life can be for those already struggling. For decades, Cleveland's southeast side has been overlooked, starved of investment, and left to survive on its own. City leaders know the statistics: high poverty rates, systemic disinvestment, neighborhoods painted as dangerous, while their people are dismissed as problems. And when tragedy strikes places like this, the reaction is always the same. Quick local coverage, a few tweets of sympathy, then silence. That silence becomes a second wound. It tells communities already living on the edge that their pain isn't marketable enough, isn't glamorous enough, isn't worthy of national attention. That's the reality Shedeur walked into. But instead of pity, he brought presence. Instead of speeches, he brought connection. What he organized became known as the Garden Valley Fun Fest. It wasn't polished, it wasn't corporate, it wasn't sponsored. It was raw and real, built around the simplest but most powerful idea of all: joy. Nearly 1,000 residents came out. Kids who had lost everything ran across the blacktop chasing spirals. Sanders danced with grandmothers, laughed with children, and threw touchdowns to wide-eyed 7-year-olds who couldn't believe an NFL quarterback was spending his day with them. He blew bubbles with toddlers. He lined up for cornhole like he was just another guy from the neighborhood. For those few hours, grief gave way to laughter. People who had nothing felt seen again. This wasn't just a charity event, it was healing. It was protest. It was Shedeur saying, "I am here. I see you. I am not afraid of you. I am you." And here's the thing. Shedeur didn't dip out after shaking a few hands. He stayed. He gave his time, his presence, his energy. And that's what set this apart. Sending money is easy. Showing up in person, standing in the middle of devastation, and bringing hope through presence, that's rare. But as photos trickled out of the event, the backlash began. Critics jumped on social media, asking why he skipped the ESPYs. Some mocked him as just a 5th-round rookie looking for attention. Others questioned his commitment to football. A few even suggested he was wasting his moment to network with celebrities. The criticism was loud, petty, and predictable. And let's be real. If this were a white first-round quarterback showing up in a working-class black neighborhood to throw footballs with kids, he'd already be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. There'd be commercials lined up, Nike ads, Gatorade features, heartwarming ESPN specials about the rookie with a heart of gold. But Shedeur Sanders? He got hate. The irony couldn't be sharper. The ESPYs, a night supposedly designed to celebrate courage, leadership, and resilience, completely ignored a moment that embodied all three. Shedeur's absence wasn't a protest, but it became one. A silent rebuke of a culture that values performance over presence, theatrics over authenticity. He wasn't chasing a trophy. He wasn't seeking headlines. He was restoring joy to a community in pain. But to the people watching through a lens of bias, that wasn't enough. And yet, when asked about the backlash, Shedeur didn't flinch. If he felt disrespected, he didn't show it. If he was hurt that national networks barely acknowledged his choice to skip Hollywood for Cleveland, he didn't lash out. Instead, he doubled down on something far more powerful than any online rebuttal: purpose. When asked why he did it, his answer wasn't defensive. It was grounded, mature beyond his years. "I just wanted a day for everybody to get out here and have some type of enjoyment, excitement. Bring the family atmosphere back," he told local media. Then he added something that revealed his character more than any highlight reel could. "Sending money is easy, but you have to actually go out there and be in the flesh." That's not a rookie chasing clout. That's a leader speaking truth. The words hit deeper than most realize, because in an NFL culture where performative charity and quick photo ops are often treated like obligations, Shedeur was reminding everyone that presence is priceless. It's one thing to wire a donation or pose for a campaign. It's another to throw a football with kids whose homes turn to rubble, or to hug mothers who don't know where their families will sleep next week. And while the noise online grew, Shedeur stayed locked in on the one thing that had defined him since his college days at Jackson State: faith, focus, and preparation. Training camp loomed, and while others obsessed over red carpets, Shedeur obsessed over the playbook. He wasn't complaining about his draft position. He wasn't demanding first-team reps. He wasn't whining about attention. His words stayed the same: "I got time. Time to grow, time to learn. When it's time for me to play, I'll be ready." That level of poise is rare for rookies, especially those carrying a famous last name like Sanders. But that's what separates him. People aren't just watching his arm anymore. They're watching his actions, his leadership, and his refusal to let noise dictate his pace. Around the Browns facility, veterans noticed. He wasn't trying to go viral. He was listening to Joe Flacco, soaking in wisdom from the quarterback room, building trust not just with coaches, but with teammates who had seen him show up for Cleveland when the cameras weren't watching. And that's the point. In a league obsessed with flash, Shedeur is betting on substance. While others chase stats and spotlight moments, he's chasing meaning. And if that sounds familiar, it's because Shedeur grew up with a living example of what happens when talent meets purpose. His father, Shedeur Sanders, prime time, was the definition of swagger: gold chains, custom suits, and game-breaking swagger that lit up highlight reels. But behind the flash, Shedeur taught his children something the cameras never showed. He drilled into them that greatness isn't about what you get, it's about what you give. Shedeur absorbed that lesson. Where his father built a legacy with charisma and highlight plays, Shedeur is building his own by standing in the shadows where no cameras shine. Shedeur wore gold. Shedeur carries responsibility. And while Shedeur dominated headlines with flash, Shedeur is winning respect with presence. Since arriving in Cleveland, community work has been his signature. His first stop wasn't a glitzy endorsement deal. It was John Marshall High School, where he told students, many of them doubted just like him, that he planned to bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland. That wasn't arrogance. That was belief. That was leadership. And when tragedy struck at Rainbow Terrace, he doubled down, proving that his commitment to the city wasn't talk. This isn't a PR rollout. This isn't a campaign. This is the blueprint of a young man who understands that greatness is about what you give, not what you get. Legacy doesn't begin when you lift a Lombardi trophy. It begins with the choices you make when no one's watching. And right now, before he's even thrown his first pro touchdown, Shedeur Sanders is writing one of those legacies. The critics can talk, the haters can nitpick, but Cleveland knows the truth. While the world chased trophies and red carpets, Shedeur chased something deeper. He showed up where others stayed silent. He played ball with kids who lost everything. He hugged grieving families. He reminded a broken neighborhood that they still mattered. And that's bigger than football. That's legacy.